want to go toe to toe?
All right, so this is kind of a continuation of the prior video that came out a little earlier today. So I'm going to have two on May the 4th be with you, Lapeer. We have April 6th and April 20th. And April 6th, there was a lot of heated talk around transparency around the Bodman billing. And there were, again, some intense words volleyed back and forth. So here we are 2 weeks later, and you see that the mayor wants something that Commissioner Atwood said on the record, which was at the beginning of this video. He took it as a threat, and although Atwood tries to say, of course, that was not a physical threat, mayor wants it on the record. But you'll see Commissioner McCarthy is sort of in agreement with Commissioner Atwood that we covered this, and they did, because one of those early marathon meetings last fall, there was a whole lot of dialogue, and Mayor Hing and Commissioner Petrie in particular objected to it. It was like a book, and the city clerk, Ramona Sanchez, wasn't thrilled that she spent all that time transcribing it, only to have to go and revise it. I'm sure at this point she's plenty okay with it, because now she doesn't have to spend hours putting dialogue into meeting minutes, but it was a frustrating moment for her. So I'm jumping in a little bit when you hear from Mayor Hing.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes, I just wanted to bring something up to the Commissioner's attention. I noticed that the commentary of back and forth between me and the mayor is in there, which, that doesn't really bother me at all. I feel like if we're going to allow commentary, it kind of goes back to what I said a few months ago, is we need to put the whole context of what transpired that got us to that vote or to this point. So I would appreciate it if the commission would consider putting the whole, not the whole commentary, but a summary of, I think it's 80 and 81, which would be the Bodman bill motions and discussion. Just some sort of summary between, the debate or dialogue between the commission and the mayor, to include the whole context. Again, not the whole context, but just a summary of what transpired or what got me to that point of why I said what I said.
Commissioner McCarthy?
I just want to go back to when we've had this discussion on other things where I think it's unfair that this got in there, because it kind of tees us up. And we've already had this discussion where it should just be the actions, none of the commentary, none of the, right? I mean, it's either the actions or no commentary, or if it's commentary, you got to put the whole thing in. It's either one or the other. You can't have it both ways.
I want to clarify for the clerk's sake. The clerk didn't make this decision. It was something that I directed to be included because I consider a threat very seriously.
All right, so I'm back. And this is the first place I wanted to jump in, because Mayor Hing says, I want to make it clear that this was not the city clerk who put it in, it was me. Well, damn right, because the city clerk got scolded when she did that. It's clearly the mayor who wants this documented. I don't love that personally, not that it matters. The fact is, it's on video, it's documented. The other thing is, whenever, hey, I have had a great track record at some jobs, right? When people start putting things on paper, documenting work performance, and I've even been on the other side of it, your corrective action is either to help the employee improve, right? Or justify getting rid of them if need be. And that's what this kind of feels like. Putting this on paper, like there's some kind of agenda there. But again, that's kind of neither here nor there, except that they have already said we're not going to do this kind of thing. And I don't love seeing the attitude of, well, we're not going to do it unless I'm personally offended or I am personally threatened. The police chief was sitting right there. I mean, Commissioner Atwood was in the heat of the moment. I think we should have grace with each other, like nothing escalated to some unforgivable point. But I do understand Commissioner Atwood's desire to say, don't just put this single bullet point where it makes me look like a loose cannon. Put some context in there. I didn't just out of the blue make a threat of any kind to you, first off, but it looks like I just randomly threatened you. And that's not the case.
Verbal or otherwise, even though the context is that it wasn't meant in a fighting manner, I still take threats very seriously, even when they're verbal.
Why so serious?
So I directed that it be included. The context is the video, which is a point of record as well. I'm happy to understand from you, Mr. Atwood, what context you feel is missing from this. It's not commentary, it's verbatim from the video. Blatant rebellion?
How does the mayor not understand the point that Commissioner Atwood is making? Yes, it's verbatim. Commissioner Atwood says, I said it. He I think later takes issue with maybe a single word, but he's like, I don't mind that it's in there. I said it. I own it. I just don't like that it's in there with no context. Nothing you said, nothing that was said by anybody prior to that. You just have this one comment, and we already had agreed, first off, that we were not going to put in this type of dialogue. But if we're going to do it, paint a full picture. Don't pick and choose. Don't pick and choose, period. But if you're going to choose a moment to put into the meeting minutes on the record, at least don't make it such a one-sided interpretation of the events. I need to have my view represented too. I think that's fair.
But to McCarthy's point, I do, I wouldn't want that to be, it doesn't bother me it's in there, I just don't want it to be used or the way it looks to where someone can pick and choose, what they want in the minutes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a long explanation. But.
It is, and I think that maybe there's some dialogue we can have outside of the meeting to try to understand and articulate what it is that you would like included for the additional context. I can appreciate that. And I don't think we need to waste the time here inside the meeting for that. Is that agreeable?
Yeah, I don't want to labor it,
Okay.
I just,
Okay.
I prefer it, if it's going to be in there, then it would have the whole, how to, why Commissioner Atwood feel that way, how to get to that point,
Mm-hmm.
So the whole summary is in there.
Yeah. I'm sure there's context that you would appreciate to be in there. I feel strongly about including the narrative or the transcript, if you will, preserving it only because it was directed at me. And as I stated earlier, I take threats seriously, even if they're not physical. You stated that you've never made a claim like that or a statement like that to anybody else. It seems like it was out of character. But we do silly things when our emotions get the best of us. And we don't take that time between a stimulus and our response, and we immediately go to something frustrating or anger-driven, emotional-driven, and that's what I'm afraid of. Mr. Brady.
Sorry.
I support Commissioner McCarthy's. I believe it was
stated in a way that could have been taken as an amendment to the minutes. Essentially, hopefully, just striking all of the commentary. And I would seek that based on, I'm not sure what authority the chair has to put any direct dialogue into the minutes. The board voted that we weren't going to do that. I don't know that the chair is the person who gets to pick what those words are. So unless you can show me where that authority is specifically yours, how come the board doesn't get to decide what lands in the minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Mr. Francis, I do believe that this falls under Robert's rules. We might have a provision inside of our board procedures, policy and procedures. If we do, then that's your territory. I'd like you to pull that up.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. It's A10F of your policies and procedures. The clerk shall not be responsible for a written record or summary of discussion or comments of the commission. Upon direction of the presiding officer, the clerk may provide a summary of individual comments. I believe that's...
Yep. Which I do believe is a clarifying summary of something that's already inside Robert's rules as well. So it's backed by two authorities.
If I may, Mayor,
Yeah.
the vote is still the commission's.
Yes,
The question,
that's correct.
The proposal is.
But the question from Mr. Brady is, do I have the authority to direct such a inclusion? And I think it's very clear that I do.
All right, so then the mayor has the authority to do this, right? When he directed the city clerk to include Commissioner Atwood's quote, he had every right to do so. Doesn't mean it helped anybody. Again, it was already on the record, and then this took up the first 35 minutes of the meeting. Why?